Hey. So, did everyone have a chance to look over this the summary slide deck for the senior PCC role?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Yes.
All right. Opinions: good, bad, indifferent.
Helpful.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's very concise.
Good. Do you see anything that's missing that your RDs have you doing right now?
I'm not. My RD doesn't really have you doing anything yet.
That was going to be my next question.
Well, like in Region 108, like we just like are starting to meet our RD, you know, and we haven't really got to feel her out or know what our obligations are going to be to her yet. She kind of explained it a little bit, but I know there's many offices she hasn't visited yet. So I know for 108, we're still kind of waiting to get like a certain agenda, you know, how we're going to be able to help her.
Sure. Yeah, that's definitely to be expected. Judy does have a copy of this slide deck, so she should know how to be utilizing you. But
yeah, she did come to my office and we talked a little bit about it. But you know, I feel like there's more to come with that. So. Okay.
Well, keep on her for it. I mean, she's good. I met Judy.
I really like her. She's a great lady.
Anthony,
so,
this is Sherry.
Yeah, I mean, she's new, so what's up?
Okay, this is Sherry. One question that I have is I'm looking at these, you know, the duties that you have on here.
Uh-huh.
Have they, okay, as far as making corrections in cycle, you know, are they going to keep that with the ops coordinator or are they going to put that onto the senior PCCs? And I'm talking like walking them through the correct way to do exchanges. Now that we're reviewing the discounts and all that, you know, is that something that's going to ops coordinator or go to the senior PCCs for cycle changes, cycle corrections, I should say?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't really have a good answer to give you on that one. I know that the seniors are supposed to be going through and kind of double-checking the work, but as far as who's going in and making the corrections, I still think that's going to reside with the ops coordinator.
Okay, yeah, not just, I'm not, I guess, not the corrections to it, because I know the senior PCCs don't have admin authorization in cycle, but as far as, I'm just going to say like for exchanges, you know, because I mean, I get calls where, you know, I have to walk them through how to do it, and one in particular I'm talking about is with the insurance to where they have to remove the discounts, you know, and they have to do it as an exchange. And that happens. I mean, there's a lot of that out there, stuff like that. Is that going to go to the senior PCCs? Because it is something they could do, walk them through it.
And this is Tony, and I've been doing it for my PCCs here. I've been walking them through the exchange and corrections.
That sort of maybe, isn't that kind of SOP compliance? Not just questions, but that's in the SOP.
To do the exchange if there was an error on the original invoice?
Right, I'm just saying that that says additional duties as primary resource for SOP compliance, maybe not just questions or...
Did you get on?
No. Okay, I see what you're saying. Right.
Can I ask a question?
That's how I took it. I just wanted to clarify it.
Thanks, Sherry.
Strategies, it says good at providing positive and negative reinforcement. Like as far as negative reinforcement, can you clarify a little bit more? Maybe I'm just having a Monday morning. Sorry. You know, like.
So negative reinforcement doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad.
Right, yeah.
Let me try and...
Maybe I'm not awake here. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
I guess I just want a little bit more clarification exactly what the intentions were by, like, I get, like, getting good at providing positive and negative reinforcement, but
Wait, now you lost me.
Yeah, I just wanted a little bit more clarification on like what you mean. Well, I mean, I know what you mean, but like as far as the PCCs being negative, or if what do you mean?
It's easy to say that was great, you did a fantastic job, but what are we going to say? You did that wrong, so you have timeout for 5 minutes.
Okay, I got it. I haven't drank all my coffee yet.
No, I think what it is how you, the way I'm taking it is when you're speaking to a PCC and trying to explain to them the proper way of doing it.
Right.
I look at it as it's all on the how you explain it.
Right, and not coming off so negative. Okay, I got what it means. I'm sorry, guys.
But some, take it, everybody interprets something differently. You're saying the same words, but the next person might interpret it differently. So what I found is you have to really, especially when you're emailing out, you really have to watch how you say it, what you say, and just reinforce that, you're not, it's not a point against them,
Right, yeah, exactly. Okay, thank you.
Can I share my opinion on this?
Sure.
I actually had this just Friday, actually, because my PCCs have been doing a lot better, but when I do find that something has happened and they're not following an SOP, so I'll explain it to them in the email, and then I attach the SOP for that specific topic, and I just say, please follow this SOP, and then it usually works better that way.
Yeah, because I was kind of running into the same issue, and I do the same thing, but sometimes I get, like, they almost feel like that I'm picking on them when I'm really not, and, like, I've, like, always reinforced saying, I'm just here to help, it's not a bossy thing, and I always try to be, like, super positive about it, but sometimes I get a little bit of
some people
attitude
can't, yeah, and there are some that just cannot accept structured criticism, I guess you can say.
Right. That's why I wanted more clarification, because I was having the same issue.
Does anybody just pick up the phone and call them?
I try to keep it as simple as possible, and so that it doesn't go into too much detail of me explaining what they have done wrong. I just say, I just point out, hey, you didn't add this, but you're doing much better, but here's the SOP just so you can, follow it.
Right.
And they'll eventually get it.
People?
I always do. I call my people all the time.
I do. I make a lot of phone calls as opposed to emails because I think it's more personable.
I typically will email first and then I'll call because I can at least have that both on there and we can go over it on the phone because, yes, there's just times where they'll say, I didn't get your email or I didn't, or they're like, well, I don't really understand, on the phone or something. So I don't know, both ways kind of help a lot better than one way.
I agree with that.
Me too. Yeah. I guess I'm just getting some resistance, like, even though I'm being, like, nice as possible and I say it in, like, a really, like, way that it shouldn't, like, sound like it's picking on them. I just wondered if anybody else ran into that, too. I mean, I feel like no matter how...
I had that happen just last week with someone, and in fact, she used the terminology, I'm going to push back on this. And so what I did was I said, I'm just here to help you. I'm not here to criticize the way you're doing things, but we do have an obligation to do it the way we're required to do it. And this will help you with your numbers if you look at it this way. By the time the conversation was finished, she was okay, but there was some resistance there. And I think with some people, you're just going to get that occasionally.
Okay.
And it's personality. In some instances, it's just their personality to be a little more aggressive than other people, especially if they don't know you, because I'm having to contact people that I don't personally know yet because I'm new to this. But what I've found is that if I approach them and say, look, I've been assigned the job of helping you to be better, and here's what I noticed, and here's what I think you might be able to do that'll help your numbers and that kind of thing. And I just try to approach it from that vantage point so that they don't feel that I'm being critical or I'm trying to tell here's how you do your job. And I usually tell them, you know your patients, and I don't. So this is just a suggestion. Maybe there are things about this patient I don't know.
Right, yeah, and that's usually no problem. It's just kind of, I've heard different, and Anthony, this is the question that I wanted to ask you. I've heard from my previous RD not to contact the PCCs unless they come to you, but at the same time, when I notice certain things are happening that our insurance is put in wrong and something like that, you know, I feel obligated to contact them and, you know, make them aware of the situation. And I've kind of had some issues with that, like, oh, you're going through my appointments, and, you know, and it kind of comes off that way. So as far as our role, if we're going through and we're looking through other offices just to see how appointments put in, if insurance is done correctly, and, you know, some things that we notice that aren't correct, you know, is it our obligation to call them and you know, make sure that they know the proper way? I would assume that it is, but I get the feedback sometimes that, oh, we don't want to feel like we're picking on them, you know, you know, let them call you instead of you calling them. So I just wanted a little bit more clarification on, you know,
I don't know how
you could do. I don't
know how you could help them if you don't call them or email them.
That's what I assumed, but I mean, I don't, you know, I've called her several times and explained, I'm only here to help, I'm not your boss, these are some things I've noticed, you know, here's the SOP, you know.
Maybe you can have the RD let them know that you are responsible for these particular offices, and you'll be getting phone calls from these people. They're helping me, and they're helping the ops coordinator, and you know, maybe it needs to come from them rather than come from us, because I think a lot of times they don't look at us as a helper. They kind of look at us more as just their peer, and you know, why are you investigating everything that I'm doing?
Well, and the end result is it's going to have to be corrected one way or another, no matter if it's the senior PCC that are contacting the PCC, or if the senior PCC doesn't contact them and correct it when they notice it, it's going to come down on the ops coordinator.
Exactly, and that's what I try to explain that way. It's just that I've heard different things, so I really appreciate you guys putting your input on that. It makes me feel a little bit more confident, you know.
Anthony, what's your input?
I was like you. I wasn't really sure, you know, what are the limits of my, you know, what are my boundaries here? I don't want to overstep my boundaries, but by the same token, I can't help these people do their job right and me do my job and what's expected of me if I can't communicate it.
Exactly, yeah.
So
Anthony, what are your thoughts?
Communication would be vital.
Yeah, what are your thoughts, Anthony?
Are you there?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm here. Don't worry.
I'm here too, Anthony.
So that's like the third time I asked you to get a response. It's like, what, is he taking a nap?
No, I was waiting for the conversation to hit that lull to where I could step in, because everybody was getting good answers.
You got a bunch of women, there's not going to be a lull.
Oh, goodness. I know.
I was just going to say, Anthony, you're the only man on this phone call.
Poor guy.
So I have two things to say on that. First off, I'm going to address you, Elise. Were you able to put together the presentation that we talked about?
I wasn't. Because
That's okay.
I had to bust butt for the last 2 days of last week after coming back from corporate.
No. Don't worry about it. I didn't want to steal any of your thunder if I was going to be talking about this.
No. Go ahead.
Okay. So first off, you should most definitely be actively reaching out to your clinics.
Thank you.
Absolutely should be reaching out to them, establishing contacts with them, because I mean, one of the comments that was made is, I don't know these people yet. And of course you don't know these people because you haven't been working with them. And you're not going to get to know them if you don't reach out to them and say, hey, I am your resource. I am a mentor out here. I am functioning as in a leadership position in order to make your life easier. And it's not easy to do. It's challenging. You know, it's like trying to make new friends. You know, being that new kid at school and being like, oh, hey, let's go ahead and be best buddies now because this is what Connect Hearing is saying we should be doing. It's not easy. But Elise has been doing something that is really cool that I was hoping she would have been able to share. Right. So maybe within, I don't know, the next week possibly, if you could get something together to send out to the group.
Sure.
Okay, she's been putting together these fantastic emails, and I'm going to let her talk about it right now so she can give you an idea on what she's been doing.
Okay. So what I do is, of course, at the beginning of the week, I just look at everybody's schedule and see what's going on, and I just kind of keep up with everything. I make sure I look at their invoices, see if everything is going well on there. But what Anthony is saying is that I usually will send out as much as possible, motivated emails to my PCCs, because a lot of them get a little down in the dumps and stuff, and I just have to encourage them that, you know, we're all doing the same thing, and I'm just here to kind of show them exactly, like, if where they're struggling at, what I can help them with, and because there are times where I don't get a lot of that from I don't even want to go there, but but it's just, you know, just motivating them, like, hey, we're all in this together. Let's make it a great week. Let's make it a great day. Let's start off the month great. Blah blah blah. Just going into who's doing great, but also not, you know, throwing anybody kind of like under the bus, but just saying. I like to get feedback from them of, like, what did you do different to help you
Otherwise
get
I'll call her
there.
back.
Huh?
What did you say? I missed that.
What part?
Somebody just said something and I missed it. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I think they may have been talking to somebody in their clinic.
Oh, okay.
But I like to just see what they've done differently to get to their goal, and maybe that will help everybody else get there as well, rather than, hey, you are, you know, slacking, you know, stop, you know, being so awful at your job kind of thing. If that makes sense. But it's been an uphill battle here and there, but it's finally starting to show some good things from my team, and I am, you know, I do have a pretty good, like, positive team now, and they actually finally see that I really am here to help them, and I'm not, like, beating them down and saying, you're doing this wrong, and I just really want them to know that they have somebody to go to. You know, it's not just, they're not alone.
Yeah, and I really like the idea. I attempted to do that. I send out a really super positive email, and so what I did, instead of sending out 2 separate emails, I addressed it to both of my PCCs, and then I got a phone call from one of my PCCs saying, you didn't send proper email etiquette. You CC'd me on it instead of sending it to me directly.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh. And I'm like, really? You know, like, I'm just trying to introduce the weekly action list. And then, you know, I talked about the weekly action list, you know, let's have a great month. I asked one of my PCCs to start making a list of all their HCP sales, you know, so they knew what they were at the end of the month, so they can go through and look at total sales and make sure that everything's done correctly in cycle. And it's kind of, I'm getting resistance like, oh, I don't have time to do that. So I don't know where to go there when it's like you ask them to do certain things to kind of help them motivate themselves with sales and stuff like that. And it's like, this is too much. It's too overwhelming.
Well, have you ever talked to the HCPs, though? Have you asked how their work, like their teamwork and stuff is with their PCCs?
Yeah,
that is like really, really,
that's the
like,
problem in that office, is that there's no communication between the HCP and the PCC.
Yeah,
so she doesn't know what's going on, and I'm trying to work on breaking that barrier.
Yeah.
But it's really hard when you have that kind of resistance and attitude, you know, because they've done stuff for so long. So that's the only reason I bring it up, because it's like I make the effort to get, you know, put together a nice email and try to be really motivating. I got one PCC that loves it, and the other one that's just like, this is too much work. Why are you bothering me all the time?
That's kind of what I got last week.
And are they a busy clinic? Does it show that they're a busy clinic too?
I mean,
and
it's kind
of
like
so much resistance.
It's not really. I mean, they do see people, but, you know, they block off like 2 hours for their evals.
Oh.
2 hours?
What?
2 hours from 2:30 to 4:30.
That's not even within SOPs.
No, that's not even.
Exactly. So when I try to call up and say, hey, you know, we want to be able to create time to, you know, see at least 3 evals a day if it's possible, you know, so we can reach our goal. And it's like, nope, she needs 2 hours
Is this clinic like near you? Like, can you travel to them and everything? And
I've already traveled to this clinic.
what about going with your RD and sitting and having a conversation with both of them? Because I mean, you kind of need to see what their body language is for the first of all. Where, like, is this the job that they're supposed to be in? I mean, because maybe they need to think of another position to be at.
Well, that's the problem that I'm having is that I've spoken to the RD about it, and it's kind of going under performance review and stuff like that. You know, I don't want to single out an office or anything, and I think that's where that resistance is coming in because they feel like they're being picked on, but at the same time, there's so many things that is happening there, and it's like, how do you, you know, you try to stay as positive as possible, but not beat someone down, but at the same time, it's like, you know, there's just a brick wall between the PCC and the HCP, and they're just in separate worlds, you know.
So is the HCP pushing back when she wants to just do 90 minutes on an eval, or is the PCC saying she needs 90 minutes or 75?
I think it's the PCC, and I've offered, I've spoken to the HCP saying, oh, you know, can you provide training to your PCC? Like I'm talking about, she can't put in a purchase order, she doesn't know what MSRP is, and I've tried to explain it, and it's just, I'm sorry to bring up so many of these issues. It's just that, you know, I've been going through this for like a month, and I'm like doing everything I possibly can to try to help and give the information, but it's just, you know, everybody's just pushing back. So I guess that's just personally what I'm running.
What's your RD's reaction to that kind of attitude?
Well, I've only spoken to her once about it, and she said that, you know, some things are going to happen in the future to where, you know, we're going to try to correct it. But it comes with the thing, if, you know, if there's a PCC sitting in the office that's just resistant to everything, is not willing to be able to take that kind of, you know, constructive criticism, where do you go from there, you know? Sorry, guys.
Like, I honestly, like, I started to, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say this, Anthony, but I started putting Anthony on my emails and also my operations, because the more people that you have, you know, showing that you're doing your job and really, you know, being there for them, I think the better, honestly. Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, Anthony, but, I mean.
No,
I think I agree with that,
so
Gary, too.
I'm going to add in the last word here so we can move on to the article, because I want to spend some time on that before we go out. But
Anthony, can you hear me? I just wanted to make sure my phone's working.
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay.
Hi, Ellen.
Hi. I said something before, and I wasn't sure. I had this problem last time where I think I had it on mute. Okay. I'm good.
Yep, you're fine. Okay, so again, you want to be involved with your people. It's the only way that things are going to go well. And yes, there's going to be the cases of resistance to where they're not used to having somebody be involved with them. And
I've been with her for 5 months, though.
Well, I wasn't just saying necessarily your example. I was kind of trying to speak broadly to everybody. But it's hard. It really is hard. And in your situation, unfortunately, it's more difficult, and it sounds like it's more of an RD problem than it is your problem.
Okay.
Which is good. And your RD is aware of the issue, so you've done everything. You've done what you needed to do for that situation. I'm not saying that you need to stop bothering them or picking on them, but you should still be working to try and help them through their issues, regardless if they want the help or not.
Okay. That's good
Because
clarification.
then there's no excuse then. It's not, oh, well, yeah, we have the senior PCC that didn't do anything. It's like, no, I was involved. Just because you didn't want my help at the time doesn't mean that it wasn't available.
Right, exactly. Okay.
And I think it's important to make sure that you have some kind of proof that you have done all those steps prior to having to involve your RD.
Yeah, I have emails saved and stuff like that, and they're aware of it. I really appreciate the feedback, though. It you know, makes me feel better that you know, I'm trying to do everything I can for this office, so I appreciate all your feedback.
So one thing that I want to start doing, and I want to have everybody really start working on getting this out, is at least a weekly communication via email or telephone to your clinics. Let them know what's going on. Tell them what's happening. Tell them that you're available for them to help. Go over their numbers, what they've been doing well, what they haven't been doing well, and they need to work on. these are things that in trying to step up to that leadership position that we need you in, that you kind of need to be working on. And it sounds a lot different coming from somebody who is functioning as a mentor than somebody who's operating as a boss. So,
can I say something real quick?
I guess so.
I just think because this company gets so many emails, I find it, for me, I like to call everybody, and I like to, instead of emailing them, I feel like they understand a lot more when they're having problems. I'll actually log onto the computer with them at the same time and kind of walk through things.
But I send an email out, and then I follow up with a phone call. That way it's documented in email and that there's a phone call, you know, because it's kind of one of the things, if a PCC calls up corporate and they're complaining about their PCC, at least you can show that, hey, you know, hey, I wrote this email, and I wrote in the email that I'm going to call you in just a few minutes to follow up if you have any questions. So that's what I try to do.
Who are they going to complain to?
I don't know. I mean, I just cover myself, you know.
Yeah. Well, I send out a weekly one on Friday just to remind everybody to turn in their RPOE, and then if there's any information that they need to know, I kind of put it inside that email instead of, and I probably touch base with at least probably once a week with all of them, whether it be on whatever it's on in particular. Did anyone start besides our region, the 114, that does we do every other week, we do our senior PCC-led meetings?
I'm going to be starting that.
Yeah, us too.
We've done about 5 so far, and I mean, they're half-hour discussions, and we kind of hit some of the points when we were doing that, or topics that they want to discuss too.
Yeah, I found that's been, I know for my group here, Cindy, I know it's been helpful for us to meet like that. And then what we do...
Sorry, I'm going to have the gardener right behind me. If you could.
What we do here in Region 114 is that each month or each meeting, there's 3 of us senior PCCs, so each meeting one of us takes over coming up with the agenda and what we're going to discuss. So then
I think it's Gail's turn.
I believe it is Gail's turn.
Really?
Yep.
All right, Anthony, I know you wanted to move forward on
I think that's a great idea.
The other thing
I have an idea.
Is inviting your ops coordinator to those meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We invite Sherry.
Yes, they do.
So Elise is going to put together kind of a template for how she puts out her emails, because I really like the way that she does it. So if you're not using something already, incorporate this into a weekly communication with your PCCs. If you are using something already, that's fantastic, but look over the template that she sends, because there might be something that you can add in. We want to make sure that we turn this into a sharing of best practices, which we've been doing already for about 25 minutes, which is good. I mean, that's the idea of these, is to get, you know, our good ideas out so we can make everybody better. So I'm going to move on to the article. We're going to spend about...
Sorry, do we send the emails to the PCCs or HCPs?
Yeah, so if you look at your screen right now, if you have that pulled up, you should be able to see an example of an email that Elise sent out. So she sends it to all of her PCCs and then to the ops coordinator, the RD, and the HCP.
Okay, gotcha. It's so tiny, I had to blow it up. Sorry.
That's okay.
I only sent this one to my HCP because he was going out of town. So normally I don't. Sometimes I'll include HCPs, but you know, it just, you kind of have to pick and choose, kind of, you know, because I only deal mainly with PCCs and helping them, trying to build a team of, you know, and communication between their HCPs. So I really try not to send them too much to HCPs because they kind of get a little huffy too. So they have better things to do by helping, you know, our patients, you know, get fitted with hearing aids.
Well, it's a good thing that they're apprised of what's going on in their clinic, though.
Right.
So if it's going to kill them to read a 2-minute email, then there's a problem. So on that absolute downer of a note, because I'm good at doing those and stifling conversation right in its tracks, honestly, who had a chance to read this article?
I did. I read it.
I did. I did. It was really good.
I did.
I
oh,
did.
Good. The reason why I asked is I want to kind of give you a heads up. You probably will be asked by your RD your opinion on this. Mitch put out kind of a thing saying this is good, make sure that they actually read it. So if you have not had the chance to read it yet, I recommend doing it. So opinions on it, good, bad, hated it, loved it?
I thought the article was great because of all the scenarios and all the interesting names that you recognize and what they said. My favorite one was the one by Lincoln, feeling like such a failure, and how he explained what he hadn't done and hadn't achieved. So, yeah, I thought it was a great article.
I also, too, I actually started, I didn't get to read it till this morning, and as I'm looking at it, I felt a little overwhelmed, like, oh boy. But once I started reading it, I agree. I liked all the, the tie-ins to how this, like number 6 on the screen, perseverance, how that, the explanation of how that being shown, in these examples. I really like that. Of course, the Vince Lombardi, since I am a Packer fan, is the best for me. But
agreed.
I did. I liked it. I actually, once I got reading it, I found it to be informational and helpful.
So I want to make sure that I throw this out here. I apologize for setting it up like kind of a college read of focus on these things, apply it to these areas. But I know a lot of times when we're reading things like this, at least me, I shouldn't say when we are, when I read things like this, because there's a lot of ground that's covered. If I don't have a good aspect of what to focus on, or if I'm running low on time and need to make sure that I just have to have some areas applied to something for a conversation, it helps to have that kind of narrow focus going on. So my apologies, but we will be getting more articles like this. There's a push for trying to help you guys become better leaders in the field. And I know that we spent a little bit of time on it while we were going through training, but I think this is a good way to have legacy training happen. So once we get out, we're working in the field, having some ideas on how we can step up and perform in a stronger position than how we are currently. Not to say that we're doing a bad job. I don't want it to come off like that, but that we can improve the way that we're working.
Yeah, agreed.
I think that article, the number one important thing is character. I think if you don't have character where they trust you, then you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
That's hard to do until you get to know them and they get to know you.
So
how do you
perseverance?
Ooh, perseverance, that's a good one.
I think a big thing for me was a selfless one. Was, kind of letting go, how we all talk about how it's hard not to get a little offended, like the situation you were talking about where you keep trying to offer your advice and you hit a brick wall. So it's hard to let go of that part of ourselves and try to, remain with the greater purpose.
Right.
So I think that's a big one.
I agree.
Well, I think you have to reach a point where you don't take it personally, because it's really hard.
And I really try not to. I try to, be as positive every single time that I talk to them, no matter how rude it feels like they're being.
And I've encountered a similar situation, and I totally relate. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that because just positive every time, positive reinforcement. You guys are doing a great job. These are just some things that a small scenario. I noticed that they were putting in their notes that they gave a patient a care credit application and they were waiting for the patient to come back and, get approval for care credit. So I took it upon myself to call and say, hey, you can do this online. We can get same-day approvals in the office. That way you can fit the patient in the same day, and you don't want them to leave without knowing exactly what they're approved for, and stuff like that. And I even got resistance kind of on that. So, that's just kind of a scenario where I'm just like, okay, I'll walk you through it, no matter what. Just hang in there,
Have you tried at all just being a little more firm? Not unkind, but just firmly saying.
It's kind of like you're not my boss, and I can't. I don't have to do it the way you say. I appreciate your advice, but it's kind of like that. And
well,
I'm just like,
at that point, I think I would say it's not what I say; it's what the company that writes your paycheck says. This is what we're all told that we have to do. We have to follow these SOPs. It's what makes a company run. Somebody has to be the boss, and the boss says do it this way. And if you're not willing to do it that way, then, you might have some consequences to deal with down the road.
Yeah.
So
they pretty much have a choice.
I want to kind of spin that a little bit. Sorry to cut you off there, but can we think of a better way of acting as a leader in that position, as opposed to just defaulting and saying this is the way that Connect Hearing does it, that we could say maybe change that around? I don't want to say what I have in my head right now.
How about why do you want to do it this way as opposed to the other way? What makes you think that's better? Show me. Show me why your way works better, and then we'll see, why I say my way works better. Or
she was like, oh, well, you called me up and you confused me, and I said, we got on the website together. I walked you exactly through it. Here's the, and it's kind of, I'm just not used to doing that way, and it's just so confusing. And I said, we can go over it, as many times as you want to, but in the end, this is going to be more beneficial to your patient because that's the way it works in our office. We do care credit online. They're approved for the same day, and that's why we do same-day fittings. And I have one PCC that's, oh, yeah, I'll get right on that, no problem. But, it's hard just getting them to do a simple task as tracking their sales. Well, I don't know how many we have for the month, or she never tells me, or, I don't, and I feel like I'm not doing my job because even though I'm explaining it to her and I'm trying to be, like, as far as the whole different learning personalities and stuff, I've tried, like, several different ways to input the information to where she gets it, and it's just kind of like, well, I don't understand it, I'm just going to ignore it. So.
Well, at a certain point, I guess it has to go.
I'm sorry, what?
The weekly performance report, doesn't she have to track everything on that? How can she not know what her sales are? Because you've got to report it every week.
Her HCP does it. Her HCP does 70% of her job. And that's been a big issue. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw that out there, but that's the kind of thing. The HCP is kind of like, I've ran the office for 4 months by myself. I can do these things, but instead of giving, well, she's only been here 7 months, and she does. This is the first time working with hearing aids, and I'm just like, she started a month after me, and I'm like, it's kind of, she should be responsible for these things, at least for her own position, and then the HCP should be training her on changing wax traps, and just, normal hearing aids.
If she's only been there for 7 months, how does she know a different way to do it?
Yeah, and kind of a situation, oh, I'm going to have my patient call you so you can tell them how to change their wax traps. And I'm just kind of like, I don't mind doing that, but isn't that, something just generic, that we should all know? Or if we've been here almost a year, shouldn't we know the basics? The foundation, how can we get better if our foundation is rocky? I'm sorry, I'm just venting at this point.
I would think that if the HCP is not training his PCC to help him, that would be something you need to get your regional director to talk to the HCP about, because some HCPs are going to totally be like, take control, and and that's the way they want to be, and they don't want somebody else doing that, but they're holding back their PCC.
Hold on just a second. The response was by the HCP is, oh, she's never worked in this field before, and she's only been here for 7 months, so it's slowly happening. And I'm just like, oh. Okay.
Something you might want to try. This worked for me. We had a clinic visit, and I have had just the opposite of what you were describing. I had a PCC doing everything that the HCP should be doing, like the PCC was putting in all the charges for the hearing aid sale, and was really going way and above because she had a lot of experience. So I kind of pick and chose what I wanted the HCP to do, and I just took 3 things, and I said, what I'd like you to do is this, and then I showed him, and this, and then I showed him and that. And then I left the rest out. You know, I didn't want to overwhelm the situation, but that was a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to call this week to see if the HCP has stepped up and asked the PCC to step back and let him do more responsibility. So I think clinic visits are good because you can personally sit there and say, I just really need you to do this, and this is why, and this is how you do it, because sometimes they literally don't know how to do it, and they feel like they shouldn't have to ask. So it was a visit with the RD and myself, and I thought it was pretty effective.
So I'm going to stop us here because we only have about a minute left. Good conversation. I think this went pretty well. One thing that I want to do as far as a follow-up to this article, try them.
Okay.
Read through it again. See which ones you can use. And what I'd like to have is either a success or a failure story from each of you on the phone. Just send me an email. Let me know which one you tried and how it worked out. Did you see anything positive from it? Did you see anything negative from it? Is it something that you try again? It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It doesn't have to be long. I just want to know if this is something that we can use. Because if it's not something that we can use, then I'm not going to teach it again. It defeats the purpose. Also, you're going to be getting 2 articles from me today. They're by this guy named Daniel Goleman. He's a pretty smart fella. It's going to be for our town hall meeting next month, because I want to make sure that you guys have these articles and you have plenty of time to look through them, even if it's just a cursory glance. Once the meeting comes out, I'll include them again, but just read through them, let me know what you think, and I have to get out of my room because I have people that are coming in here. If you have any questions, if you have any concerns, as usual, send me an email, give me a call, and you all are doing fantastic work. And I'm not just saying that. I have heard nothing but good things from the field about how well you guys have been performing. And I am very, very proud of you all.
And I just want to say thanks for all your guys' feedback today. Thanks for giving me my confidence back because I was feeling a little down about it. So I really appreciate all the support.
We got this.
Thanks, guys.
Y'all are awesome. I mean, you've been doing fantastic. But I've got to end this and get out of the room. This will be posted up on our senior PCC page shortly. And don't forget that there's the contact information up there for all of our seniors. So if you get stuck, you need to get some help, or you just feel like talking to somebody and doing some venting, pick up the phone and give them a call. Everybody should be welcoming to trying to help out each other. So with that note, I'm going to stop the recording and get out of here. Everybody have a fantastic week, and I'll be talking with you soon.
Thanks, Anthony.
Bye. 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 Bye, Anthony.
Bye.